you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Secretary, thank you for taking the time to be here today. Much appreciated. As you noted, I believe we all share the common goal of supporting academic excellence for students of all ages, but particularly for young students early on in their academic careers to build the foundation for success. Now, funding from the Targeted and Education Incentive Finance Grants under Title I, Part A of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act is intended to go to schools serving low-income, high-poverty areas. Now, these grants are allocated based on a complex formula that considers both the percentage and the number of disadvantaged students in a given area. As part of the Every Student Succeeds Act in 2015, Congress mandated a study on Title I funding for formulas in order to ensure that funds are actually going to the local education agencies that need them the most. Madam Chairwoman, I'd ask unanimous consent to insert into the record this 2019 report from the National Center for Education Statistics on the mathematical formula for Part A grants under Title I.
Without objection.
Thank you, ma'am. What this report shows is what local education agencies in my district and around the country have been saying for decades. The formula simply isn't fair. Number weighting disproportionately sends funds to large school districts. The report found even if they have a low percentage of poverty because of the number weighting. This leaves school districts in low-income rural areas like my district on the short end of the stick. Mr. Secretary, the support to offset the impact of poverty on education and learning should not be based on your zip code. It should be on your actual circumstances. So, Mr. Secretary, what do you think is the solution to address this discrepancy?
Thank you, Congressman, for that question, for sharing that. I share those beliefs. For far too long, I believe our rural communities have not been identified as in need as they really are. In fact, the pandemic showed that our rural communities were often the communities that had the least access to broadband, the least access to one-on-one devices, and to highly certified teachers. We take that very seriously. I visited several rural communities. I've spoken to teachers and parents in rural communities and students to hear from them directly. I'm proud to say that the Title I dollars, rural districts would share in the $2.2 billion increase. The rural education program in our budget has $215 million.
Mr. Secretary, if we could, you're talking about new money. I'm talking about the formula. Is the formula broken? Is the formula inequitable so that it favors large school districts despite low instance of poverty? Does it favor them over, quite frankly, the remaining school districts that can have significantly higher proportion of poverty? Is the formula broken?
Mr. Thompson, I'd be happy to look at that and hear more from you and look into that, because I do think...
Well, I would encourage you, because your department actually conducted this, arranged for the study at the direction of this committee. Yeah. And the study that came back says that it is broken, it's inequitable, and so we need the formula for distribution really has been affirmed by the work, the study that your department led. And so we need a remedy that, similar to legislation I've introduced that actually caused that study to occur, called the ACE Act, All Children Are Equal, and certainly equal in terms of those who are living. So it's the formula that's broken at this point. Moving on here, I also wanted to quickly touch on CTE programs. As a co-chair of the Career and Technical Education Caucus, and really a champion of Perkins 5, I'm proud of the bipartisan work and support that this committee has done for students of all ages in terms of both academic and technical skills. Mr. Secretary, in the President's budget request, there's a substantial increase for CTE national programs. And while I've consistently supported robust funding for CTE programs under the Perkins formula, I remain concerned that this funding would flow outside of this formula that so many schools rely on. Has your department encountered any issues with the Perkins formula? And if not, why are you seeking to allocate additional funds outside of it, outside of the Perkins formula?
Sure, thank you for that. And I just want to follow up on the previous question about rural education. We do take that seriously. We have a new director of rural engagement. We created a rural action team, and I'd be happy to share more information with you.
That'd be great.
With regard to the Perkins program. That is the foundation of the work that we're going to be doing. But we recognize, sir, that if we continue with the way we're going, we're never going to meet the demand. We're never going to meet the demand. What we need to do is not only engage in supporting state grants through Perkins, but also make sure that we're providing not only funding, but support, guidance, and a push to evolve our high schools to create better college and career pathways, to engage to our two-year schools and our workforce partners. That's been very well received in the states and the districts when I have conversations with governors, mayors, school superintendents who want to do the right thing, school boards, but they just need technical assistance to make sure that their schools are evolving to meet the demand.
Well, I think they need the Perkins 5 formula assistance, actually. As I visit these schools, these are secondary education schools, these folks have waiting lists today. So they have the programs, they're partnering with those who sign the front of a paycheck, not the back of a paycheck, to provide the right type of education so that when these kids graduate, they've got a diploma and certificates in one hand, and quite frankly, have multiple job offers in the other. Yeah. Let's not mess this up by working outside the formula for Perkins 5. Thank you, Madam Chair, but I apologize for the additional time.